Okay, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome into Unity Prosperity Ocean International, an alternative unity ministry. We're going to get going here this morning, this Sunday morning. Good morning, Helen Ann. Good morning, Glory. Good morning, Ms. Sharon Moore. And good morning, Kevin and John and Sandy. I don't know why your screen is flashing up there, but oh, well, maybe that'll settle down. But it's all good. I'm going to take care of that by pinning myself here. There we go. And we are live out to social media. So I want to welcome in all of you that come in and look in later. Today out there, can you raise your hand if you hear me okay? I've got my microphone a little bit further away than normal. Okay, great. All right, well, welcome into this Sunday, March 12th. Those of you that remember to change your clocks. We have a few out there that didn't. So let's just dive right in. I'm going to start a new series. Tanae and I are going to start a new series, and Tanae will be adding more, not so much today, other than the daily word, but as we move forward. So we're going to take a series and bring that to the forefront today called Bridging the Gap. And we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, we've talked so much about letting go and releasing and then moving in what we want to experience, whether it's the intangible, like, you know, love, relationships, or tangible, like time and money freedom, or health and physical fitness. Doesn't matter what it is, but we're going to look for and look at that dream that's been perhaps nudging at your heart, but hasn't yet been put in what I like to call the incubator, right? It's designed, it's envisioned, and we put it in the incubator. And if it hasn't been put there, we got to say, why not? Why haven't we put it in there? Chances are the answer involves fear in one of its many forms, one of its many shapes, and one of its many sizes. So this morning and moving forward, but mainly this morning, we're going to join virtual hands and support one another in taking the leap of faith together, regardless of our fears. And I'm going to turn it to Tanae in just a moment for the, you know, let's do that right now. Tanae, why don't you hop out and share today's, I'm going to let JJ in here. She just joined us. Why don't you come on out and share today's daily word? You got to unmute, babe.
Good morning, everybody. Today's daily word is illuminate. I welcome the light. Taking a moment to appreciate the beauty of a sunset, I realize that in another part of the world, the first rays of a rising sun are bringing light to a morning sky. Whether I can see it or not, the sun never stops shining. Somewhere a new day is dawning. Much more brilliantly than the sun, the light of God, too, is always shining. Sometimes my thoughts may be so focused on a challenging life situation that I do not sense the divine light. Then, in a flash of insight, I experience again the illuminating presence that, even in my darkest moments, is as near as my next thought. So I affirm, let there be light. I breathe out frustration and worry. Breathing in, I am filled with the light of truth that illuminates my mind and shines from within my heart. And from the scripture, Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, it reads, "Then God said, let there be light, and there was light." May the Lord add a blessing to the hearing and reading of this word, for the edification of their souls and the elevation of their mind. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Look forward to you sharing more as we move forward this year. I want to share something from Charles Fillmore. Charles Fillmore said, well, he actually wrote, and he says, the German philosopher and poet Goethe says, the highest and most excellent thing in man is formless. And we should guard against giving it shape in anything less than noble dress. Charles says, this is a recognition of the truth that man has the capacity within himself to give form to the formless substance. These are inspiring words, but actually bringing forth the noble dress, also known as our dreams, our hopes, and our desires, from the formless substance, manifestation requires bridging the gap between incubating an idea, so to speak, and manifesting the dream. Now, sometimes that gap, it's in that gap that we get afraid. It can be pretty scary. And yet, what we do inside the gap can make all the difference in the world. So that's what we're going to look at over the next few weeks here. Today, we're talking about taking that leap of faith. Let me share just a piece of that opening quote again, a little bit slower. The German philosopher Goethe says, the highest and most excellent thing in man is formless, and we should guard against giving it shape in anything less than noble dress. This is a recognition of the truth that man has the capacity within himself to give form to formless substance. So I mean, these to me are absolutely beautiful words. What do you think? I mean, I love, love, love quotes like this. And I didn't make them up. I wish I did. Rather, they come from Charles Fillmore's classic work, simply titled Prosperity. And I know many of you have read that or studied that. Here's another good one. Let us feel that our purposes are animated and inspired from on high, and then let us go forth and make our dream come true in human experience. It's talking about those divine ideas that we get. The divine moving in and saying, this is what you're here to do and to be. Those are beautiful, inspiring words too, aren't they? Now, I didn't make those up either. They come from Science of Mind, the Science of Mind Big Book. And while they're beautiful and inspiring, actually accomplishing what they say requires something. Anyone who has ever taken a dream from incubation to manifestation, anyone who's ever taken a dream from the embryonic state to the full-fledged experience of it, anyone who's ever taken the seed of an idea to the full bloom of the plant knows that sometimes there's some fancy footwork that must happen to bridge that gap between incubating the idea and manifesting the dream, right? I recently heard the first part of a popular quote expanded on a little bit with the addition of just a few words. That quote is, when one door closes, another one opens. But the hallway can be real, right? Well, so can that gap between incubation and manifestation. And it doesn't have to be that way, but it can be that way. And I think you all that are here know what I'm talking about. And those of you that have worked with us or taken classes with either one of us know about that hallway, that gap. So the reason it happens that way is because we need to let go. And that's what we talked about in, the prior Sundays for, at least the last 3 or 4 weeks. We need to let go of the beliefs, the behaviors, the ways of being that have gotten us to where we are right now, because it's those beliefs, those behaviors, those ways of being, those patterns, that programming, those paradigms. That's what brought us to where we are right now, but they won't get us to the dream. But those beliefs, behaviors, habits, ways of being, they don't necessarily go quietly. And I shared in previous ones that we'll get to removing them, but There's something stubborn that goes on, something that happens within us, actually physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually, that festers up, so to speak. It's called chemicalization. Now, in the really revealing word, the Book of Definitions by Charles Fillmore, he speaks about chemicalization, and it's also in Lessons in Truth as well. He says, whenever a new spiritual idea is introduced into the mind, some negative belief is disturbed. It resists. With this resistance comes more or less a commotion in the consciousness. This is called chemicalization. And chemicalization often happens on that bridge, in that gap. You know, it's one thing to identify paradigms and move them away by inserting affirmative statements of what we want to make manifest in our lives. But this chemicalization, I mean, it can get sometimes physically ill because some of these beliefs we've had all our lives, and something moves in that the light bulb goes off and we see as obvious. I mean, this is truth. This is the light, the illuminate that Tanae was talking about in the Daily Word. So we're going to speak for the next several weeks about bridging this gap, or said another way, addressing the chemicalization. And to begin with, we are going to turn the word gap into an acronym for Grand Adventure in Purpose. So sometimes that gap, that grand adventure in purpose, can indeed be scary. And yet what we do inside that can make the difference. So this month, we're going to bridge that gap, and we're going to begin this morning, just right now, here together. Whatever you're going through, I want you to virtually, maybe close your eyes if it's safe to do so. And we're going to virtually hold each other's hand, supporting one another as we're moving through this. Just close your outer eyes if it's safe to do so, and just consider that we're making a big circle, and I'm holding on to all of those that are looking in from all over the world and bringing them into this circle with us. So we're in this together. We're in this together right here and right now. And just consider in consciousness, maybe say with the silent words of your heart to the person to your right or to your left, virtually looking at them, or if you're with someone, just say, hey, let's take this leap together. Now, okay, good. Now let's go. So what is it? What is it? We've been asking since the beginning of the year, within this ministry, within this Sunday message, within our private posts and videos. What is in your heart? What is that dream or desire that perhaps has remained elusive? Perhaps a dream you have right now is expand the life you are already living into something bigger. Or perhaps you desire to double your income or experience greater time and money freedom. Or perhaps you want to actually start getting paid for your art or your writing or your creations or your organizational skills. Maybe you'd like to spice up your current relationship, or you'd like to create one, have one show up. Maybe you'd like to shift your career around by transferring to a different department or starting your own business. Perhaps you'd like to have a healthier, more vibrant transport, meaning your physical body transport for God. Maybe you're ready to let go of addiction or release some excess weight. Maybe you'd like to become a prayer chaplain or a minister or a spiritual explorer. Maybe those of you that are in the corporate workspace would like to let go of your corporate job and do something more meaningful to you. Maybe you'd like to see yourself contributing more in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't have to be all about dollars and cents. It can be. I like to come from there, because if I'm going to be contributing a whole bunch of money, that means I have it in the first place. So that's always a good one. Whether we realize it or not, we are always being pulled upward to be something more, nudged by spirit, to express more of the divine in us. It is a constant upward spiral pull of the universe, calling us to a greater, grander version of ourselves. Now, this often shows up, and I say this often, as an inner feeling of longing and discontent. And very often, many of us simply ignore it, or we can't identify and really put our finger on just what it is. What is it that would satisfy that feeling of longing, discontent, and unfulfilled wishes and desires? You see, that's because sometimes we've buried them or forgotten them, chalking it up to uh, not possible for me. But they don't go away. They lie dormant. They settle in deeper, but still tugging at you, sometimes long after you had the dream in the first place. But it does tug because something incredible, perhaps even spectacular, is seeking to find expression through you. Yes, you. And you can always find this. You can find it in whatever you are truly passionate about. So if you haven't already, visit that place. What am I truly passionate about? Spirit, speak to me in ways I cannot possibly ignore. You know, for me, personal development and professional development now and music have always tugged at me. I was born with drumsticks in my hand. I shared that with many of you that are looking in with me live here today. I got a toy drum set every year at Christmas, probably starting about age 3, right up to, year after year after year. I began lessons in the 3rd grade and started playing professionally in high school. And then I continued to play professionally into my early 30s. My day job was even in the music industry back then. Started in high school, moving from small mom and top music stores into larger music stores, and then from a cleaning boy to a salesperson to an assistant manager to a manager, and then I moved to a district sales manager when I was 23 years old for Gibson guitars and Pearl drums, and eventually a national and international sales manager for a global musical instrument and accessory distributor. Personal development had always been my companion too, always been by my side. Some kind of book, a lot of Wayne Dyer, since I first walked into a Unity Center back in 1980. Now, things did sour through choice after inefficient choice that I made in my life, but the deep inner desire, knowing that something was there, knowing that something was within me, to put it all back together, that inner knocking and longing, it lingered in there. So through grace, I found my clarity again and was deeply inspired by the verse I often love to share with you: seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. That's even right in the daily word that was published for the day I was born. Step by step, choice by choice, always seeking first the kingdom, I reconstructed the dream, became a minister, deeply involved in the field of personal and professional development now, and now adding music back in the mix through rhythm and drumming. But I believe I had to experience that contrast of something missing for so many years to rekindle the fire of that burning desire to be, do, and have more. What I was feeling before I got back on track is called divine discontent. In the beginning, however, in the early days of gaining my clarity, I wasn't sure what this thing was pressing my button from the inside out. I was still finding my way, my what, my why. It wasn't in the bottom of the beer bottle. So I know how you might feel. And I know also that something very important must happen right at this juncture, or you will still be sitting here next year at this time still wanting to expand the life you're already living into something bigger, still wanting to double your income, still wanting to actually start getting paid for your art or your writing or your organizational skills, still wanting to spice up your current relationship or create one, still wanting to shift your career around by transferring to a different department or starting your own business, still wanting to have a healthier, more vibrant transport for God, meaning your physical body, still wanting to let go of addiction, still wanting to become a prayer chaplain, a minister, or a spiritual explorer, still wanting to let go of your corporate job and do something more meaningful for you, still wanting to contribute more in some way, shape, or form. Something has to happen in order for any of those things to occur. We have to take a leap of faith that sends us not only into midair, but into the stratosphere, right? I love this definition of faith. Faith is knowing that as you step off the cliff, one of two things will happen. Either the ground will rise up to meet you, or you will spread your wings and fly. Or you may have heard this by French poet Guillaume Apollinaire. Come to the edge of the cliff, he said. We can't. We're afraid. Come to the edge of the cliff, he said. We can't. We're afraid. We'll fall. Come to the edge of the cliff, he said. And so we came. He pushed. We flew. The leap of faith requires action. You have to actually do something. Now, most of us usually start off the year with good intentions. This is a good time to get clear about our visions and our dreams. And so in January, I encouraged you to make that commitment to whatever it is, to lose the weight, to quit smoking, to plan the trip, to write the book, to learn to play the musical instrument, or start that new business. But what happens is all of a sudden, we realize it's March, and it is right now, March 12th. 2023, and we haven't accomplished or perhaps even started to work on anything. We haven't even taken our toes off the edge of the cliff, let alone taken a leap. Can you relate to that? If it sounds familiar at all, don't beat yourself up. That's the worst thing you can do. It's actually pretty common for life to get in the way of our reaching our ultimate dream. That's why today, I'd like to share 3 ideas that will help you get off the edge. Now, once you've identified the dream, assuming you've identified the dream or that burning desire, yeah, it's still in there. I know what you're talking about. It's knocking at that door. It won't leave me alone. Once you had identified what you're passionate about moving into your field of experience, you must first connect regularly. And I mean daily with your vision, which is your source of motivation, because you should have identified your why. Why do I want this? Well, it's a divine idea. Spirit is pressing out. Have you ever heard this quote? People often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Lack of motivation is the number one reason people don't follow through with their plans. So connect with it every single day. Write it out by hand every single day, over and over and over again, several times. How bad do you want it? Author Howard Thurman wrote in For the Inward Journey, he said, so in the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading presence of God, my heart whispers, keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, that in fair weather or foul, in good times or in tempest, in the days when the darkness and the foe are nameless and familiar, I may not forget that to which my life is committed. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. So to keep fresh before you the moments of your high resolve, spend a few minutes every single day, reading your vision, like I said, handwriting it out is big. Today's going to talk more about that in the weeks ahead. Handwriting it, closing your eyes, seeing it in detail, and feeling that is key. Feeling what your life is like as you achieve this, living it, coming from that feeling. In New Thought Speak, we call this getting a mental equivalent. Getting a mental equivalent, staying in the energy of the dream fulfilled. And when we have a crystal clear, strong mental equivalent that involves head and heart, feelings and emotions, we're on our way. All right. So do that. Get engaged and involved. And don't forget the feelings and the emotions. We're establishing the frequency there, right? The vibration. Secondly, create a list of small steps and take action today. Now, if you haven't done this already, break your vision into smaller steps and write down every single action that you need to take in order to achieve each of them. And set a time of completion right next to them. Make sure to cross off at least one task from your list every day so you keep moving forward. Okay. I studied a lot of Jack Canfield, and he's got a chapter on this, chunking it down. Now, remember, we create big dreams in our lives, and that's what you're encouraged to do anyway from the both of us. And we don't have to know how, because the how is a God job. But we can identify, what can I do right now that'll move me from where I am just a little bit closer, or maybe a lot closer, that I know that I could do and I should do. And if I did do it, I'm moving forward. So we can take what we identify and chunk it down into bite-sized pieces. Then check it off. Do it and check it off. Consistent daily efforts. Ernest Holmes wrote in The Science of Mind, he said, our mind should swing from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer, performance. This would be a well-balanced existence. Prayer to performance, that's good, isn't it? That's where the rubber meets the rose. We talk about that. We talk about putting feet on our prayers, right? All right, the third thing is let go of that which is stopping you from moving forward. Identify what it is. Perhaps it is one of those beliefs. Maybe question, maybe it's time to look at your beliefs. Why do I believe what I believe? Maybe it is one of those ingrained habits. Look at your habitual habit every day and say, yeah, that's kind of keeping me away from this. I get involved in a lot of those things we talked about the prior weeks, letting go of complaining, letting go of so many things that we do. That's what we're doing during this time of Lent, letting go of every negative thought, letting go of every negative action and behavior and habit. Maybe it's a negative family member or friend that just brings you down, arousing that fear and doubt. Now, identify it, but replace the belief with a new idea. That's how we change the habit. We have to change the habit, and we have to be consistent and diligent with this. Set boundaries with the person or whatever it is that's preventing you from succeeding in life. Now, this isn't selfish. This is part of loving and honoring yourself. Do what it takes to release whatever may be stopping you from moving forward. Why would you ever let someone else's negative opinions, or even your own for that matter, be more important than living the life you would love to live? Don't get me wrong. I've let that happen many times over and over and over again. But as I always like to say, we got to notice what we're noticing. Are we doing this? Are we giving away our power to somebody else? That means that matters more than what we actually want to experience. And we got to get out of that habit for sure. All right. So let's wrap things up here. It's with these three ideas firmly in mind and in practice that we can take this leap of faith. Regular connection with our vision, small regular steps toward it, consciously evaluating and letting go of whatever may be standing in the way. And then you can have whatever that thing is that's been tugging at you. How about this? I love this. I love to share this. And I shared a lot of this before, but this ministry is called Unity Prosperity Ocean International. And I talk about whole life prosperity in every area of your life. Now, I don't, I have a little picture here and I'm looking for it right now. I usually have these things queued up, and this one is being a little bit stubborn here. You know what? Maybe I can real quick share this. I love this. Julia Stewart. Julia Stewart worked as a waitress for IHOP at age 16. Through hard work, she became the president of Applebee's. But when Applebee's asked her over for the job of CEO, she left to become the CEO at IHOP and then bought Applebee's. I mean, you gotta love that. I just love that. I love mentioning. I almost forgot about that. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, what was that? Who was that? And it's just, I'm doing this thing. That's the will that keeps us focused on the dream. I was a waitress, man. I'm just gonna buy them and I'm gonna oh, I just love it. So, and also her words, just let those ring with you and resonate with you. Neil Donald Walsh says, I believe God wants you to know that perfection is not required of you, only perfect effort. Not to even try because you don't think you can would be terribly sad. You'll be amazed what you can do if you simply step into it. Life awaits you on the other side of risk. What can you lose? Face, dignity. Who cares about those when greatness is possible? Who cares about those when fairy tales are at hand? Julia Stewart obviously didn't. She said, well, I might flop, but I'm going to go for it. So I want to bring our time to a close with a quick little poem entitled Lessons in Faith. It was written by a member of one of our sister churches after she miscarried a little girl whose name would have been Faith. It goes like this. Just like a flower in bloom, I have learned to open up and stretch myself, living life more fully than ever before. Just like the bird takes flight, I've learned to spread my wings, lift off, let go, and trust in God's power and presence to support and uphold me. Just like the ocean tides change from morning to night, I've learned to surrender to God's divine flow and move with the current of life easily and gently. Just like the stars and the moon shine brightly in the evening sky, I've learned to be still and let my inner light shine forth. Just like the rain falls, sometimes gently, sometimes hard, I've learned to detach from the outcome and stay in the moment. Just like the natural disasters of fires, floods, earthquakes, and storms, I've learned to recognize my part of all creation, taking responsibility for my destruction and releasing the wreckage of my past. Just like an Arizona monsoon dust storm blurs the landscape, I've learned to stop, meditate, and pray to clear my vision of God's divine path for my life. Just like there is pain and grief over the loss of loved ones, I've learned that life and love go on, transcending even death, honoring their memory and service to others. Just like a butterfly undergoes tremendous change both within and without, I've learned to accept my transformations gracefully with love, forgiveness, and gratitude. Just like God created me in her image, I've learned that with faith and divine right action, anything is possible. You just have to do it. Because sometimes, as author Margaret Shepard once said, sometimes your only available transportation is a leap of faith. So you can take that leap of faith, my friends, and either the ground will rise up to meet you, or you will spread your wings and fly. God bless you. Let's just take a breath right here and just allow these words to just settle in. Setting the intention that, yes, indeed, I'm going to hold the vision ceaselessly, knowing that the divine is speaking to me in ways I cannot possibly ignore. Tapping, tapping, tapping. I release the how to God. And I set the intention to participate and commit to focusing my energy on the feelings I would feel living, breathing my dream right now. And I commit to begin at once. I commit to this burning desire. I start now with the power of my imagination, acknowledging the divine ideas that come from God pressing out in me, as me, through me. Presence. This is God wanting to be more of God through each and every one of you. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. All right, here. Well, a little longer than I thought. Let me end this on social media here.